Old habits die hard. Hello. I still have to work out how to make that transition actually sit over the transition, but we're doing things one day at a time. Apple is here. Apple is sleeping because that's what she does. I'm actually worried 90% of the time that I'm going to tap her and she's going to be dead. So we actually love it when she snores. Hello, Formica. Hello, Mig. Hello, Iofault. Long time no see. Hello, Sleek. We're doing a very random time stream, mainly to meet my goal. Because as you know, I'm working on streaming more often. It's all about meeting that personal goal in time for the Year of the Horse. Okay, we're going into the Year of the Horse strong. So we will be covering the news today. I did try and find good news to open. Normally I like to find like an animal type story to get us started in like a happy kind of way. But I couldn't find any animal stories today. So instead, I did enjoy Neon, which is an independent film studio that some of you may be aware of, some of you may not. Neon is an independent film studio, and they invited all of the network heads of like Netflix and Warner Brothers and what's the other one? Paramount, to come to a private viewing of No Other Choice, which was a movie that came out this year about like kind of consolidation of industry and how it creates a murderous public. It's very fun. It's a very good movie. I highly recommend everyone see it. Speaking of which, I do have a Discord now, guys. And I'm going to be active in the cinema part of that Discord, because something I would love to do is for us to all watch movies together. Movies that I recommend, because I want to increase your cinematic knowledge, and then we can discuss them, okay? But that's for later. We should get into the news. Any other personal news that I have? It's very hot in Australia today, so if you're in Australia, slip, slop, slap. Make sure there's water outside if you have animals. Make sure there's water for wild animals if you can. But yeah, okay, let me go into a movie club. We alone shall stop the death of cinema, okay? You just have to trust me though when I pick a film. You just have to be like, I don't know. I'm not going to give you Irreversible. I'm not going to give you The Piano Teacher. I'm not going to ruin your life. But I am going to force you outside your comfort zone. Okay, news. Cows are still there. Let me just pause them. What are some examples? I'll tell you. Let me just look at my handy dandy notebook. So, I really want to watch Memories of a Murderer, the Korean film. I meant to watch that the other night, but I didn't. So that would be something that we could potentially watch together. They're also re-releasing Chime, which I would like to watch. I would like to watch... oh my gosh. Well, this isn't something that we could watch together, but we could all go to the movies and talk about it either. The new trailer dropped for Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day, and it looks amazing. What else is on my list? Wait. We need to watch some Cassavetes, I think. Yeah, we're talking about so the Discord is ready to be opened. I'm thinking about starting a movie club. I think also so Alireza Katami's The Things You Kill, which came out at Sundance. I would love us to watch that. Obviously, Jafar Panahi's It Was an Accident just got a digital release yesterday. Panahi has been sent to prison in Iran for making the movie. I saw it. And I saw him. I was very fortunate to see him interviewed after the film. I would love us to watch that. I would love us to watch Curtain Call from 1984. So I think it could be fun for us to watch the films together. But before we get to films, we must engage in the news because we must be educated on the news. Okay, let me go to news broadcasts. We're going to fix the transition, but we haven't yet, okay? We haven't worked out how to do that. Pix was in here the other day and she's like, we got to fix your transition. And I forgot to ask her how after stream, but I will. Okay, so first of all, we have headlines. I wrote here good news in my notes and I didn't put anything after it. So as I said, we're a little bit light on good news. So no headlines today. But we have other big news to talk about, so it's fine. Speaking of movies, we do, of course, have to talk about Rob Reiner. Yes, Kirill, I do think that there is something going on between Trump and Putin, and I'm going to get to that in the Ukraine section. Chile, yeah, I know. So Chile elected someone on the far right. That means that Chile, Honduras, there's a lot of leaders coming out, and we'll talk about that with Venezuela, actually. So everyone, stop trying to jump the news. Look at where we're at. We're at Rob Reiner, okay? We're gonna get there. Okay. Very sad. As some of you know, movie Great was killed. And normally I would just be like, well, that's very devastating news, not really political news. But in this case, it very much is political news because of how the President of the United States decided to react to the news. So for those of you who don't know, Rob Reiner, an actor, but more importantly, a director and producer who is kind of a generational talent in his ability to make the best movie in every genre. So When Harry Met Sally, your best rom-com. Princess Bride, your best fantasy. Spinal Tap, your best kind of mockumentary. A Few Good Men, your best procedural. Just movies that became so Stand By Me, your best coming of age. So movies that not only became instant parts of the canon, but movies that are so fundamental that like lines from them are quoted daily. Like think about You Can't Handle the Truth. Or my personal favorite is from When Harry Met Sally. And When Harry Met Sally, and she's like, she's upset because her ex gets married, and she's on the phone, and she's like, and I'm gonna be 40, and he's like, in 8 years, and she's like, yeah, but it's just sitting there. So really, like, a generational talent in his ability to tackle any genre, but also something so beautiful about Reiner's films is that they're all about like finding something good, finding love, finding friendship, finding truth. There's a real like goodness to his catalog. As someone who likes very fucked up movies, When Harry Met Sally is actually one of my favorite movies because I love Nora Ephron's writing in it, and I think Rob Reiner's direction is very clever. But normally I like a real weird ass movie. But when it comes to a good solid movie, Rob Reiner is the benchmark. This is who you want to be, right? So just an all-round good person who, yes, was worried about the death of democracy in America, was worried that Trump was working on behalf of Russia, and was vocal about it. Oh, Misery. I freaking love Misery. But the thing is, if you truly believe that politics, as I say all the time, and I will continue to say, if you believe that at its root, politics is about relationships, how people relate to one another, how people interact. So obviously when it comes to formal politics, it's more, hierarchical. How do we govern other people? How do we care for other people? How do we police other people? So politically, it's got a more hierarchical sense to it. But at its very core, politics is how do we interact with one another? So it makes sense that artists should have something to say about that, because that's largely the basis of what art comments on as well. Outside of whether or not artists have any unique insight into politics, hey, Freedom Land, in America, you have freedom of speech. You have the right to comment on politics, right? So I want you guys to understand, there are a few reasons that I think what Trump said is so crazy. I know you will have heard it, but I am gonna start by just reading it again for you on the off chance that you do live under a rock and you didn't hear it. He said, oh, did I click out of it? Oh, I did, because I was in my Facebook. Oh, no, I didn't. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling, but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and uncurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. Okay, some of my problems with this, noting that I have many problems with this. Firstly, he was not tortured or struggling. You know what is tortured and struggling? The movie industry, because of things that the Trump administration has actively done. He is one of the most successful, or was one of the most successful people in that industry. But when you tariff the industry in such ways that movies can't be made, when you consolidate the industry in such a way that you strangle cinema to death, when you do things that create a world where cinema and the arts cannot thrive in your country, and then you turn around and call the most talented person in that. Thank you, McCready. Thank you for subbing. Yay! Look, guys, now I'm only 25 away from my goal. Thank you. If you are going to destroy the industry and then turn around and say someone was struggling, that's insane. So that's one. Two, okay, the other thing I have a problem with here is him referring to himself in the third person. But let me talk about the things that I actually have a problem with here. Firstly, and this is something that I hear a lot of people talking about, is the double standard with the Charlie Kirk thing. I'm sure you've seen the video. There is a video of Rob Reiner on Piers Morgan talking about his reaction to Charlie Kirk, how no one should be killed for their political opinion, etc., 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 that it's horrifying to see people murdered, right? Now, Trump is actively saying that Michelle and Rob Reiner were killed for not liking him, and therefore it was justified. Sad, but justified. Okay, it's not just the Charlie Kirk thing, though. I want you to imagine that because there is no world, like, I want you to understand how, first of all, it has absolutely nothing to do with Trump. Okay? Nothing. I'm actually getting discombobulated because I have so many feelings about one part of what I want to say that I'm feeling overwhelmed. But let me just, for a second, also take you to the double standard of, imagine during Nixon's era. Let's just mix up the timeline a little bit. And I know Roman Polanski bad. You don't need to tell me that. Roman Polanski bad. But let's just mix up the timeline a little bit and imagine that Chinatown came out before Sharon Tate was murdered, which Chinatown was an inexplicit criticism of the Nixon government and its corruption. Imagine that Chinatown came out, criticized Nixon, and then Sharon Tate was murdered, and Nixon was like, well, that's what she gets. Unfortunately, her husband really hated me, and they drove people insane with their hatred of me. Should have seen it. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if the sitting president said that about the murder of someone? And now, okay, even let's make up a strange, a fake one, right? I was thinking about this last night on my walk. Imagine Nicki Minaj got shot during the Biden administration. And Biden was like, well, she should have stayed a Democrat. If she didn't hate Biden so much, maybe she wouldn't have got shot. It's incomprehensible because it is not the behavior of a president. You don't think he's writing the post, Morgana? I think this is a distraction, but I actually think he 100% did write this. But I think it's a huge, because I think it's too big a mistake for it not to be him. And this is the reason I think that. So much, maybe there are some people who do not understand it, but given how big the problem of addiction is in the United States, given that that was part of what he said his platform was, to fix the drug problem within the United States, anyone who has had a family member that struggles with addiction is going to be very sensitive to this event, right? Because not only are you dealing with the extreme tragedy of whatever action has taken place, you are also dealing with like the aftermath of feelings of guilt and responsibility and what could have been done different and what could I do different. And there's something so inescapable as well about addiction in America because it feels like it's a completely classless issue. Obviously, it does affect certain groups more, but it seems like it doesn't matter how much money you have. This is not something that you can like pay your way out of. And I think we saw Trump fuck up with this even in the election when he tried to go after Biden over Hunter. And it didn't work because Joe Biden said, yes, I'm very proud of my son. My son has worked hard to overcome his addiction. Like, you're not going to win a public that is struggling with this epidemic of addiction. You are not going to win them over by making these kinds of callous comments. Can you hear my dogs snoring? Sorry. People aren't gonna respond well to it because it's already this tragic situation, right? Because let's keep in mind what he is saying. He's like, oh, well, they died because they were mad at me and they didn't like me, which is a Saddam Hussein type thing to say, by the way. It's a dictator type thing to say. But to say that, knowing that his daughter, their daughter, walked in and found their dead bodies after her brother slit their throats from behind. Apple doesn't give a fuck. But this is a very violent thing that happened that is so incredibly sad. And this is a president that ran on trying to fix the drug issue inside the country. Something that he said he is so passionate about, and then he thinks, oh, you know what? These people died. Like, this is crazy. He ran on this. And now an addict in a fit of rage takes away two people who are universally loved and really only inject goodness into the world outside of criticizing him for ruining the republic. Sorry, you can't take a little bit of criticism, right? It's absolutely insane. And at the same time, literally at the exact same time, putting out an executive order saying that fentanyl is a weapon of mass destruction. Yeah, people love to, like, it's not as easy as just, like, don't buy. I do have a very funny thing to say about the addict stuff later when we do the Vanity Fair stuff, but it's like, how do you can't even, there's no one to truly be mad at in this situation for the family, because obviously they want to be mad at their brother. He did this, but he's also not well. Like, it's not that simple. And anyone who has had a family member who has struggled with addiction knows that it is not that simple. So to turn around, to run on a platform where you are the president that's going to take on the drug epidemic in your country, where you're going to fix the drug problem in your country, for that to be your platform, and then for beloved members of American society to be killed by their son struggling with addiction, something you said you cared about, and for you to joke, if it was a joke, it's terrible. Okay, let's start with that. But also, this is something, normally I'm not big on the like dementia conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. This one got me. Hi, Josiah. Thank you so much. So I just wrote a play. I'm actually multifaceted, guys. I don't just do this. I'm also a playwright. I just wrote a play about dementia because my nana had dementia, and I wrote a play about caretakers and kind of like when you decide that you're at a stage where this person is now a risk to themselves, a risk to people around them, and you need a little bit more help to manage them, because that's a very hard decision to make. And there are certain things that are very clear indicators of dementia that I don't think get mentioned a lot. So when we see like people talking about Biden have dementia, right? They're like, oh, he's sleeping all the time and he's forgetful and he stutters and he wanders off. That's called being old. Old people just do that, okay? They can't help it. They're old. They're tired. That's not dementia. You know what is dementia? Disinhibition. Do you know what is dementia? Nastiness. People who have someone with dementia in their life, Gilda, maybe you know this. People with dementia get really mean. Really fucking mean. Thank you so much, Nexie. They get mean and they cannot stop themselves from being mean. They do not have the ability to, in the moment, go, that's not appropriate for me to say here. Disinhibition. That's why old people with dementia also get crazy sexual and crazy flirty, because they no longer have the ability to stop themselves, right? So when I see this incredibly mean, cruel, horrible thing, yes, he's always been like that, but usually people have the ability in the moment to be like, this won't serve me. This won't be good for me. When I see him being mean like this and not having the ability to stop himself at all, to me, I'm like, well, that is the clearest sign of dementia I've seen. Biden, what's the worst thing Biden said? That something was malarkey? I don't think Biden ever said anything mean about anyone. Did he? I can't think of it. And if he did, it was very tactical. It wasn't like, oh, these people had their throats slit by their extremely troubled son. Must be about me. Must be because you hated me. It literally reminded me of that clip of Saddam Hussein making people stand up. And yeah. Do I think there'll be war by Friday? Yes. I'm sorry, guys. Hopefully not. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. Yeah, so that's kind of what I have to say about Donald Trump and this Rob Reiner thing. Io, thank you for subbing. Did we get magic stars? I don't think we did. Maybe I just got the notification early. Give me my magic stars. There we go. Thank you so much. I think it's exacerbated. I don't think these are new, but exactly, Frog. I don't think these are new behaviors. Obviously, he has very rarely had a filter. Obviously, he has always been a little bit crazy mean, but like this is now, normally he's self-interested as well. No, don't worry about it. I'm trying to, eventually I'll also have like a cute little graphic here that matches whatever story we're doing. I'd love to play videos, but I still haven't mastered how to do that in like a little screen that doesn't move. But soon it'll be like the real news. And so you'll have this and you'll have a little picture here and it'll be all amazing and great. Okay. Okay. So just quickly, we're not going to spend a lot of time on Ukraine and NATO because we obviously spent. Oh wait, yeah, I do actually have to say, the other thing that Biden did that was kind of like dementia-esque was he was a little bit mean-spirited and stubborn towards Democrats towards the when he was getting kicked out, and normally I would be like, okay, he's, getting old. Maybe it's no. I don't. Apple. The reason I don't see that is because that was so consistent throughout his whole career. He's always been like the underdog who's stubborn and a little bit like defensive. I could hold up my cell phone. Do you think that would be a good idea? Hang on. Every time you guys make me look at my phone, I just look at all these text messages I have because I'm so popular. Okay. Yes. So, Ukraine, NATO, we spoke about this. Nick, I'm trying to be better because this is one of my New Year's resolutions that I've started a month early. I genuinely have the best friends in the whole world. I have really amazing friends, and I am the absent friend that doesn't respond. And I have been trying so hard to, like, if someone sends me a text, I reply. I'm calling and checking in. The amount of times that my friends have called me, I look at the phone because normally I screen. I hate it. I screen because I like to be in control. I like to make the call. To the point, like, Pixel will tell you this. She'll call me and I'll pick up and she'll be like, oh, I didn't expect you to pick up, so I don't actually know what to say because I didn't expect you to pick up. So I'm trying to be better as a friend back and pick up my phone. Mother of Giat. I have to get rid of you. I'm sorry. That's crazy. Guys, but I don't know how to do it. Okay, that's just staying there. That's so funny. I'm not going to burn out. I'm going to be amazing. Okay. So, Ukraine NATO. The reason we're not spending super long on it is because they said, I'll read it to you because I love reading it. They said, man, I'm just sitting here imagining your big old bum cheeks hanging off the side of that chair like a muffin top. Man, to be a skid mark on your panties. The fun thing is, I have a notoriously small bottom, so that's just not the case. Okay, so news. Ukraine, NATO, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it because we already went over the national security strategy. Thank you for cheering. We already went over the national security strategy where I told you that it's basically the United States saying we are completely abandoning Ukraine and Europe. Goodbye, Europe. Fuck you guys. We're going to pull out of NATO by 2027. Be ready. You've got 3. Okay. Chili Palmy has had 3 sports bets ads because I've got sports news coming up. And I want you to know no one does sports coverage like me. No one in the world covers sports like me. Okay? So you should be excited for that segment. Anyway, staying on track. Ukraine. Ukraine said Ukraine has been willing to give up their NATO bid, to give up their ambitions to join NATO. This is like an absolute nail in the coffin for NATO, for Europe, for anything to do with fucking that. It's shocking. On the basis that there will be security guarantees by America and Russia for Ukraine. Because that worked so well last time. Because every time in the past they've got security guarantees, that's done so well. Woo! It's really upsetting. It's really upsetting for all of Europe. I don't even know how to talk about. Literally, Trump has just given Ukraine up. Trump has just said a big fuck you to Ukraine. And it's crazy. And he's literally said to Europe in a memo, we will be out by 2027. We are pulling all of our military stuff out of Europe, which to me raises the question, like obviously that will take a couple of years, but they're saying by 2027. Why do you need all of it? It certainly would cost more to pull everything out. Yeah, there's definitely the other actors. Bryce is right. There are actors around Trump with their own game plans. And we're going to talk about that with Venezuela. Because it's definitely not just Trump doing things. But I mean, has it ever really just been Trump doing things? Do we really think that this man has a political thought in his head that isn't directly related to money? There's a reason that Project 2025 exists. It's because he didn't have the brain power to come up with his own political agenda. Everyone's like, oh, this wasn't written by him. Yeah, but what would he write? In 2016 it was him? No, it was Bannon. I know, I just feel so bad for all of Europe, particularly Europe on the front line. I don't know. I'm so sorry. I feel real not good for you, but hopefully Europe, a lot of those countries seem to be banding together and coming up with their own plans. They have to. But it is crazy that in 11 months, one man has destroyed a relationship that's lasted for 80 years. It's crazy. It's actually insane. Yeah, exactly, Alyosha. There's always thinkers behind him who have a grand plan. The nerdy people who sit and they think of little political plans. Like, there's a reason that Machiavelli was the thinker, not the politician, right? You need the politician to have charisma. And you know who doesn't have charisma? Fucking nerds. Yeah. I think, the BBC lawsuit is interesting because of the next lawsuit that we're going to look at. The tariffs. I think there are certain things that are Trump's ideas. Like the tariffs, I think that's something that's very easy to sell him on. I think anything where you can talk to him in terms of money, he's going to get on board. Okay. Yeah. So, we'll jump to the Pulitzer Prize lawsuit. I really maybe we'll take a break after this, jump to sports news, and then come back to Venezuela because Venezuela's a big one. Okay. So obviously, yes, the BBC lawsuit came up today. Do I think it'll go anywhere? I'm not sure. The reason I'd be nervous is because I need to actually look into where that lawsuit has been filed because like Australia, libel laws in Britain are much stronger than they are in America. So I'm not sure the strength of that lawsuit. If it's British libel laws, I think there is a concern. But I have to look into that a bit more, and I gladly will do that before next stream. Eventually I'll get to the point as a streamer where I'm able to look into things on stream, but I'm just not there. Okay. I don't know what that means, Alyosha. Okay. So in 2022, 2022, Trump filed a lawsuit against the board of the Pulitzer Prize because they gave the Pulitzer Prize to the New York Times and the Washington Post for their coverage of for their God, Joe, speak for their coverage of the Russia hoax. Okay, no Russia hoax. The coverage of Russia's interference in the election, Russia's relationship with the Republicans, etc. Blah 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 blah. Australia has beautiful nature. Yeah, we're gonna go into the oil fields in a second. But Trump is referring to it as the Russia collusion hoax, and he wants the lawsuit to go ahead for perpetuating the absurdly false and defamatory narrative contrived by the president's political opponents that he and his campaign somehow colluded with Vladimir Putin and the Russian government to gain advantage in the 2016 US presidential election, and thereafter maintained some nefarious connection with Russian elements during the presidential transition and the Trump administration, right? So yeah, truth is a libel defense, right? But the best thing is because he's saying that this has caused him like mental damage, because he's saying that he's experienced psychological damage. Thank you for cheering. I don't know what cheering means, but I appreciate it all the same. Okay. Any money you give me keeps this news station alive. And I need those feel bucks because I don't have them teal bucks. Okay. Hi. So the crazy thing is, Trump is saying this caused me psychological damage. And because he's saying that it caused him psychological damage, this is so stupid, right? I want you to consider what the Pulitzer is. The Pulitzer is the best of journalism. It's the award for the best of journalism. So you're going to take the best of journalists and be like, you lied about me and you did it, you can't. You're going to challenge them to do a proper investigation, because this is what they've said in response. To the extent you seek damages for any physical ailment or mental or emotional injury arising from counts 1 to 4 of your complaint, all documents, whether held by you or by third parties under your control, or who could produce them at your direction, concerning your medical and or psychological health from January 1st, 2015 to present, including any prescription medications you have been prescribed or taken, are to be included in the filing. So they're trying to fuck him with their discovery request. For the avoidance of doubt, this includes all documents concerning your annual physical examination. To the extent that you do not seek such damages in action, please confirm so in writing. Okay, so he's saying, if you don't want to provide those documents, if you want to withdraw and say you weren't physically or emotionally or psychologically affected by this, that's fine. You can do that. Just let us know in writing that you don't want to provide any of those documents. Just formally tell us that you won't be providing any of those documents. Either give them to us and let us see them. Let us have a look at all of your medical records. Us, the best journalists in the entire world. Us, a collection of the best journalists. Let us have a look at all of your medical records for the last 10 years. Or just let us know that you're not interested in sharing them. Yes, Pulitzer. Oh, and they want his tax returns, of course. Because if he's saying that there's financial balances. Isn't this all moot? Are there checks and balances legally for this administration? Well, it's not moot at all because he won't supply it. He just says he has people saying, oh, all of this stuff is good. Don't worry about it. All of this stuff is good, but we don't know it's good. Nothing's been released. The tax returns, and he's saying things. He's saying he's in good health. He's bragging about acing tests. It's unclear what he could possibly fucking mean by that, unless he's taking literal dementia tests. I don't know how you ace it does not make, the way he described it made it sound like he had taken a dementia test. His ankles are swollen, his hands are bruised, he's taking naps constantly, he's falling asleep in meetings on television. So attacking the Pulitzer board is just going to blow up in his face in such an amazing way. And I wonder if something like the BBC will take a look at this. I know he's old, but there are also, if he's so old that he can't do that, the same argument that applied for Biden should apply for him. I'm less worried. Look, if a leader wants to fall asleep, a leader wants to fall asleep. Who am I? I'm pro nap. Okay. And if I could be one of those streamers that naps on stream and you all just stay here and watch me sleep, I would love that. That would work for me. I'm pro siesta, pro nap. I'm not judging him for the nap. I'm saying if we're saying that Biden is not allowed to be president because he's too old and falling asleep and he can't do the job, then Trump can't do it either. And that's not my main concern with Trump. My main concern is the hand and the ankles and the droopy face and who am I to judge also a man for not being seen for an entire weekend, as if that means anything? I mean, sometimes we have a slow weekend, but that is worry. I think it's simply a catch-22. Any proof of actual meaningful damage might render him incapable of being president. Yeah, that's interesting. Also, what was I going to say there? I had a point. Okay, firstly, a movie. I have to say it because it's just in my head. I've mentioned it before. Rumors. It's on Netflix, and each character is a representation of the country they represent. It's like a G20 summit. It's very fun, but only do that with the first hour. Then it goes completely wild. It goes completely off track. But the first hour is really funny. That's Donald Trump. The second thing I was saying is it is a sign of a very concerned populace to start magically trying to manifest and will illness onto the leader that they can't seem to get rid of. You see it a lot with Vladimir Putin. People are like, oh my God, he's getting chemo. He's dying. Vladimir Putin is dying. Because it's a way for people to feel some sense of hope because they cannot see any way to get rid of this man other than him dropping dead. So a lot of the time when there's a bad leader and people are saying that they're in ill health, I tend to think that it's like a coping mechanism for the public, that we're all having this mass psychosis where we're trying to will him to death, instead of just acknowledging that we're in a really shitty situation that we don't see a way out of. Who is Vladimir Zhirinovsky? I haven't heard. I'll watch him. Okay, I'll watch him. But yeah, it's very rare that these people are actually dying. It's always guys, he's not getting chemo. He's not on steroids. He just has very bad, unsettled filler. What, you don't like the sound of... Oh, you want more snoring or less snoring? I can't tell if you want more or less snoring. She's pretty loud. I love it though, because it means that I know she's alive. Anyway, so I'll look into BBC for the leader dying doesn't even mean the government. Exactly. And this is also the thing, we are about to talk about Venezuela, but the very fun thing in terms of if the current administration is oh, Maduro's a dictator. Maduro's horrible. Yeah, that's true. But that doesn't mean people in Venezuela want you to come in. Okay. Venezuela. Oh, wait, we should do sport news first, huh? Because I know you're all dying to know what's happening in the wide world of sport. Okay. American football. A sport I don't follow at all. First of all, my understanding of American football is that it's kind of like Come Over Red Rover but with a ball. That's how I imagine it played. And it's like pussy rugby because they have all that big stuff on. Okay. So pussy rugby, Come Over Red Rover football. Normally, the big deal in this game is the Kansas City Chiefs, also known as the team of Taylor Swift's fiance. Okay. But, so these guys, I know that they were in the final, the playoffs, the Super Bowl last year against my team, the Eagles. Why are the Eagles my team? There's an Australian who has a role in that team, and that color green looks lovely on me. It's one of my colors. Okay. So, I'm happy to announce that the rivals of my team, the green team, the Eagles, are out. Gone. Lost. Not playing in the game that Bad Bunny will be at. They are not playing. It is over for them. You want to know why? Because the guy who's a little bit of a racist, Mahomes, did his ACL. And they also lost outside of that as well. But Mahomes, whatever his name is, the guy that people don't like because he's a Republican, I think. I don't actually know. The best bit about doing sport coverage is I do as little research as possible because I don't really want to know. Mahomes did his ACL. As someone who's dated athletes, that's a career-ending injury. It can be very bad. Also, my dog Ringo. This dog, that's Apple. Her brother Ringo. He just did his ACL. Okay? He did his other ACL at the beginning of the year. That cost me $5,000. And now he's going in for his TPLO surgery, his ACL surgery on Friday because he's done the other one. Another $5,000. Always at Christmas. The dog is trying to kill me. Okay, so Patrick Mahomes and my dog both tore their ACL, and now they're both out of the playoffs. No Super Bowl for either of them. Okay? And that's the football news. Oh, the good news is if you like football, you don't have to worry about seeing Taylor Swift a whole lot. If that was something that upset you before, I don't really care either way because I only really watch the Super Bowl for the halftime show. I'm really hoping that Bad Bunny does do you remember when Sinead O'Connor performed on SNL and she ripped the photo of the Pope? I'm ready for Bad Bunny to do some of that shit. That's what I want to see at the Super Bowl. I want a political statement so big. I want you to rip the face of the Pope. Okay, I'd like to talk about Ireland. Specifically, I want to talk about the famine. The fact that there never really was one. There was no famine. Okay, we should move on to basketball. Also, guys, I didn't actually transfer any of my notes onto this computer, so I'm making it up. You didn't have any pain from your ACL? That's crazy. Okay. Basketball. I have no notes here, so I'm going totally from memory. There's a guy. His name is Flag. He's the number 1 draft pick. That means you're the youngest guy that people wanted the most. I actually do know a little bit about basketball. I can't even pretend that I don't. He plays for Dallas, the Mavericks. He's the number 1 draft pick, and he got 40 points. Okay? Huge. Against Utah. You know what he did? He knocked out LeBron for being the youngest guy with the most points. Pretty cool. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Now, I don't really care about the Mavericks. I support the Hornets. So does Josiah. Pondering politics. You should support Josiah because we're out here supporting a team that has absolutely no fucking chance. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to understand your team is a project. Okay? I could score 40 against Utah. I probably could. Here's the problem. My shooting game, not good. My defensive game, my D, oh, can I box out? Can I box out? Yes, I can. I have defensive strategies that you have never even imagined. Okay? You don't want to play against me. It's terrifying. I'm tall and I'm fast, but I absolutely should not have the ball thrown to me ever. But I can take the ball from you. Okay. Could you score a point on LeBron? If I had 100 tries, I could. Because I'd ask him to let me. Please. I went on a date with, I'm not even kidding, this is crazy. I went on a date with a chess grandmaster. And I asked him to let me win a game. And I'm going to tell you, it took longer for me to win the game. Because not only did he have to let me win, he had to tell me how to win. Because I'm so bad. It was literally like a situation where it was like, are you sure you want to do that? No. Not sure at all. In fact, I think I'm just going to not touch that piece. Try again. I must have learned so much. No, nothing was retained. All that was retained is that I can now say I won a game against a chess grandmaster. That's all I really went to the date for, to be honest. I feel bad. I wonder if every time, if you do have that position in life, if everyone asks you to play chess. I had to. But yeah, I think I could beat LeBron I think I could score on LeBron simply by asking him if I could score on him. I think he would say yes. Because he's so old. Like, at this stage in his career, isn't making a young woman's dreams come true enough? Isn't that as good as winning? What's better? What would feel better, making my dreams come true, giving me a story for life? I think that's what would happen. Okay, and that's sport. We covered it all. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I can't use any of my Formula 1 knowledge because it's over for the year. I can't talk about this. Jay, for those of you who don't know, the Sixers used to be my team, and it got too painful. I still and will always be here for Joel Embiid, but I physically couldn't do it anymore. Okay? I physically couldn't do it. I also don't give a fuck about Tatum because anyone who's a true Sixers fan knows that Tatum should have been on the Sixers. So I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about the fucking Celtics, okay? No, thank you. Now I'm a committed Charlotte Hornets fan and I only want to talk about the Charlotte Hornets. Okay? So unless you've got something to say about what's happening over there, I don't want to hear it. Anyway, that's sport. Don't get me riled up. Venezuela. Okay? Give me 1 second. My mum just messaged me. Everything's fine. Also, I feel that, okay, all Aussies boycotted Sixers when Simmons left. I don't think that's true because I think most Australians were ashamed of Ben Simmons. I think a lot of Australians a lot of Australians will follow Patty Mills, right? Because that makes sense. But I don't think that Ben Simmons had an Australian attitude. You don't, and you know what? It was so annoying when that player that I really like, who was taken to the Sixers and was put on the bench, Howard. I cannot remember. Okay, Howard. You know what? Forget about it. Not Horford. Oh, such a big player, and you're gonna kill me when I remember who it is. Dwight Howard. It was Dwight Howard. Yeah, Dwight Howard was brought. Yes, I'm correct. Was brought to the Sixers, and he was benching, and this is like 2-3 seasons ago, and he was spending time after every match, after every practice, working with Simmons, trying to like help him get his head in the game. And he's such a team player. You know, I love a good bench player. A good bench player to me is more important than a good starting five, right? I need someone who's like an energy player, who's there, who's part of the team, who's like really focused on like fundamentals and building the team out. And even Dwight Howard couldn't get it into Ben Simmons' head, okay? And I say this as an Australian and a Sixers fan. I did not leave the Sixers because of Ben. I was with the Sixers in spite of Ben, okay? Anyway, I can't talk about that period of my life. Clearly. I do like Giddey. I like Josh Giddey, I'll say it. But I can't. The Sixers are very painful for me. Okay. Venezuela. Guys. Please. You're going to war with Venezuela. I'm kidding. I don't know that. Do you know that? There's something going on with Venezuela. Now, let's get some facts on the ground that are just pure facts. Maduro, bad. Venezuela do not like Maduro. Maduro, bad. No one likes Maduro. No one in Latin America likes Maduro. Venezuelans don't like Maduro. Trump doesn't like Maduro. Do we understand? Maduro, nothing that's being said is pro Maduro. Okay? Also bad. Double striking boats in the ocean. One might even say a war crime. One might even say very, very illegal. Okay, so that's not good. Pulling everything out of Europe isn't good. Mobilizing 15,000 troops is not good. Putting a nuclear submarine near Venezuela is not good. I've heard whispers of boots on the ground already. Not good. Maduro's mum isn't even a fan of Maduro. Oh, I love that woman who's like, Vladimir Putin, if I had raised you, that's how I feel, right? Maduro, here's the thing. When before you were talking about like the different people in the administration, kind of like how they motivate Trump. So this is something Trump wanted to get rid of Maduro in his first term. So this is an old feud that he has. But now he's got Hegseth and Marco Rubio. So what do we know about these guys? Hegseth loves to play with his toys. And I mean this quite, he loves to show what a big tough military he's got. He loves bang, bang, pew, pew, pew. So tough. Literally, he's like a G.I. Joe doll put in charge of the Department of War. Okay? Marco Rubio is a Cuban immigrant who fled from communism, right? Venezuela and Cuba obviously aligned under Maduro. Rubio's very invested in Latin America. In fact, I think he sees Venezuela as part of his running campaign for president. If he can succeed with Venezuela, I think that he will see that as a big win for him that he will campaign on. What do we know about Venezuela? Biggest petroleum fields in the world. Now, I hate biggest oil fields in the world. So the petrol is a huge deal. I hate to be that person. Like, it is very leftist, isn't it? To be like, it's all about the oil. It's imperialism for oil. And normally I wouldn't say that, but Trump said that. Literally, Trump said at the end of his last term, he was like, we had Venezuela, it almost fell. We would have got it all. We would have got all that oil. He said it. So if he's saying it, like, that's not me being a leftist, right? I don't know if Rubio's family were narco traffickers. This is the thing as well that's super interesting. This term, narco terrorist, which was kind of invented because drug traffickers are criminals, right? We know that. But the idea of a narco terrorist was something that was really invented so that you could declare war, right? If you loved the war on drugs and you loved the war on terror, you were gonna love the war on narco terrorism. But it's insane. It's insane. Because obviously you're not a terrorist, right? Terror is for political gain. People aren't trafficking drugs to take over America. That's what you have to prove in order for narco-terrorism to make any sense. But okay, this is very similar to what happened in Panama in 1989, right? There was a dictator, there were drugs, want to get rid of the dictator, okay. Now, there's obviously huge differences though, because Panama is tiny. Panama is in an extremely geographically advantageous position. Yeah, it is. It's from Panama. That's what I'm referring to now. Eclecticism. There was already U.S. military in Panama, and Panama itself in a dictatorship didn't have an army. They had police, but they didn't have an army, and they were unprepared. This is not the case in Maduro's Venezuela. We are talking about 30 million people. We are talking about a big country. This would be the first time ever if America were to invade Venezuela. This would be the largest country in Latin America that America has ever invaded. Marco Rubio's brother-in-law was a frontman for a cocaine trafficking operation, and he was in the compound when the police were. I did not know this. Okay, we're gonna have to create a burn book. We're gonna have to create a political burn book. That's on the docket. It's clearly about saving lives, just like it was because, obviously we had to get rid of Gaddafi and that saved a whole lot of lives. I do actually, for me in my mind, this will be like Libya. It's the clearest analogy that I can think of in terms of okay, yeah, people in Libya wanted Gaddafi gone, but external forces coming in and taking him out without any plan for what it would look like after and without taking on any responsibility for what it would look like after created a much worse situation. I think that is what everyone in Venezuela is worried about, because it's even if you wanted to put in Machado, what's her name? The opposition leader who won the Nobel Prize, she didn't have the institutional strength. She's obviously, I understand why America would want to put her in. She's very pro-business. She's very pro, everything is very America aligned. But the way that you would actually pull that off, it's going to look like Libya. It's about the oil. Unfortunately, I don't know how it's also about reasserting the Monroe Doctrine, right? Trump and Trump's people want America to be they want all of their focus on the Western Hemisphere. They want to be the only power in the Western Hemisphere. And when it comes to places like Africa, but also Latin America, China has really been on the front foot where America hasn't. So there are a bunch of ports. There's a bunch of stuff. China's got a lot of investment in Latin America, is what I'm trying to say. And what I believe is the goal of the Trump administration is to have a Monroe Doctrine where America is very much in control of Canada, Greenland, North America, South America. To me, that is what makes sense. They're trying to reassert this Monroe Doctrine. They don't want any outside power in Latin America outside of America. So yeah, if Machado needs military support, the US might just stay and Venezuela would function. Yeah, exactly. I just think it's, and the funny thing to me is, right, you've got Trump being like, fentanyl's a weapon of mass destruction. So literally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. Venezuela doesn't produce any fentanyl. Like this, and at the same time, excusing the former Honduras leader of Honduras on his drug trafficking charges, it shows you it has nothing to do with drugs, right? It's literally not to do with drugs at all. It's not to do with drugs. It's not to do with the truth. Isn't the world a little too small to be isolationist? Made sense hundreds. Well, it's kind of weirdly, it's isolationist imperialist in terms of like this big block. America wants that. Let's pull out of Europe. Let's just focus on completely dominating this landmass. But yeah, that's what's going on in Venezuela. We'll have more to say when we have more to say, which is tomorrow, because that's when they're going to announce war, right? It's all good. It's all good. Guys, the Vanity Fair article. Holy shit. I do look like Carolyn Levitt. I'm not deliberately trying to do it, but even, okay, wait. Can I just show you something? I actually really, when I saw the close-up photo of her, I was like, this is so unfair. And then I was like, are you just saying that because you look like her? But I've also often thought about doing like satire as her, like just after every press conference she does, just coming on and doing my own press conference where I say exactly what she said, but I say what she meant. I've thought about that a lot because I thought it would be very funny, but then I wasn't sure. But okay, can I just wait? We'll skip to something in the Vanity Fair article, and then I want to okay, let me just show you. Wait, don't look! They're my notes. Don't look. I can't believe you were trying to look at my notes. I know, that's the other problem. It's so hard to do satire. It's so hard. But I think it could be fun if I tried. Okay, we are going to go through this whole article, but I just want to tell you, first and foremost. So this is the up-close photo of Karen Levitt. And I was like, I can't shit on her too hard because that just looks like me. But I have some comments. Obviously, we'll go through all of these photos. Firstly, I don't have lip injections. So I don't have, if you look around the top of her lip, you'll see these little red dots. It's very interesting because what that tells me is that she's trying to lift. She's trying to shorten her philtrum. So now we can both take my knowledge that I gained from looks maxing and apply it here. So she is trying to shorten her philtrum to shorten her mid-face. Okay? And she's got some contour on her nose. I don't need that because I have a very Roman nose. I'm really puffy today as well. Because I just am puffy. I don't want to talk about it. Now, what I would say is I am very, like, this is, okay. I'm going to be nice and mean. Okay? Her skin is a problem. Okay? Her skin is dry and textured. Now, it's normal to have textured skin. Okay? This is just like when you see celebrities unedited and they're like, oh my God, they're human too. Look, they've got textured skin. Now, what I would say is if you're going in for proper photography, like, okay, something that's very hard for me, I like to give you behind the scenes about how much I complain, okay? I was on the phone with my friend the other day being like, I wish I looked hotter on camera. Because I am definitely the kind of person who looks better in real life than I do on camera because I can't hold heavy makeup on my face. And when you have a bunch of lights and a camera on your face, you are going to put a lot more makeup on. So when I first saw this, I was like, well, she's prepared for a photo shoot. So of course her makeup's going to be heavy because she's prepared for a photo shoot, right? So I'm not going to mock her for you coming in close because she's wearing heavy makeup because it's for the camera. So that's me defending her. But I am also a number of years older than this woman. Her skin is aging too quickly, and my problem is not, this is just me, I'm being nice and I'm being mean, okay? I am a number of years older than this woman. She has enough money for lip injections. She should take that money and spend it on microneedling and laser instead because her skin is a more important thing than having big lips. Okay? And that's just me giving girl on girl advice because a lot of the time something, you know how people are like, oh, that's Mar-a-Lago face, that's like ugly, like this there's something that the way I refer to that is no women friends. If you had women friends, they wouldn't let you look like that. Okay? So if Caroline and I were friends, I would say, babe, let's go and get BBL and Moxie laser. They're from lip injections. And it's kind of crazy to get lip injections. So she would have had this like a week or two before the photo shoot. She shouldn't have done that. She should have let it settle. But, you know, it's not her. She's a busy woman. Okay? So, yeah, I'm not going to shit on her too much because we don't look that different from one another. But my skin is in better shape, but I sleep a lot more than she did. She does. I'm sure of it. Okay? And part of my goals are to drink 4 liters of water a day, and do my skincare every day, and I do a red light mask every day. But here's the thing. If we were friends, I would make her do that too. But we're not friends. You know why? Because she's evil. So I don't care if her skin fucking scrolls up and dies. Okay, back to me for just a second so you can all look at my skin, look at my face, look at this heavy, heavy makeup, just like Caroline. Okay? Yeah, smoking got really cool again for a second, and I'm not gonna lie. A cheeky cigarette does make you feel pretty cool. Because sometimes a cigarette doesn't count, but you can't do it. You can't do it. Because it's bad for your skin. Okay? Don't do it. Even if it's there. Thanks, guys. Thanks for for gassing me up, saying that I look better than Carolyn Levitt. I really needed that today. Okay. You know what though? I don't mind looking like any woman because all women are amazing, except when they're evil. Then they're bad, I guess. But whatever. Yeah. Okay. Wait. So we have the president's chief of staff doing 11 interviews with Vanity Fair. Okay. I know Vanity Fair fell off a little bit with this Olivia Nuzzi stuff. Listen, when it comes to the Olivia stuff, if she'd just had sex with RFK, I would have thought that was tacky. I would have thought that was gauche. I wouldn't have supported it. Okay? I would have been like, yuck. But she fucked everyone she did a political profile on. And so I have to offer critical support because now that's kind of fascinating to me. She's kind of doing something very old Hollywood there, old journalism. She's doing what a man would have done back in the day. I find that fascinating. I feel like she's really diving in to get that perfect. Like, if I'm doing a profile, I want to know you on a deep level, right? Like, it's what I said, and people don't want to hear it, and I know we got to be worried about Islamophobia in Australia right now, I understand, but like, Pauline Hanson putting the burqa on once, offensive. Putting it on twice? Interesting. Okay. I don't. No. I'm just saying. Once you tacky when you do it one time, but if you commit to the bit and follow it through, we get somewhere interesting. Yeah. Okay. So Susie, chief of staff, gives all of these records, on the record interviews to Vanity Fair, which outside of the Olivia fiasco, I do have to tell you, is a reputable journalistic output. Meaning they're fact-checking, meaning they're corroborating their stories, meaning this is not the New York Post, okay? This isn't the Daily Mail. This is a serious journalistic imprint. So they're doing proper journalism, which means, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like a lot of these other people, I think Susie is jumping ship. You guys are playing chess, she's fucking your mum. Okay? I think Susie is distancing herself from the administration and everything we've heard today being like, this is a hit piece. No. But we will read it because it is amazing. Okay? I haven't read it yet. I've only seen outputs and I've seen the photos, and the photos. Oh my God, guys. The photos. Photojournalism is back, baby. Okay, let me get this set up. Guys, my dog hasn't moved. Should I shock her? Tee-hee-hee. God, you're so funny, Joanna. Okay. Wait. Okay, so here we have, sorry, I've cut out what's his face. Ugly, scary Steve Miller guy. Voldemort. What's his, he doesn't look like Voldemort. He looks like, Riff Raff from Rocky Horror. Rocky Horror? Riff Raff? He looks like Riff Raff. Okay. So this is their little West Wing shot. Okay, so this is definitely, the photographer took this shot and then showed it to them, and they were like, see, this is what we're going for. This is the style of what we're going for. Yeah, okay, wait. Wait. How do I zoom in? I gotta zoom in. I gotta show you this. Far out. Why can't I zoom in on my board? Why can I not zoom in? There we go. Uh-oh. I zoomed in everywhere. Hang on. Uh-oh. Guys? No, I fixed it. For a second. It was real scary there. Everything zoomed in. No. So this is the photo that was taken, and the photographer went, this is kind of the style we're going for. It's kind of like Annie Leibovitz. Like, we're going to give you this kind of West Wing look. It's going to look like a political procedural. Okay, I do really need to zoom in on this lady for you. Susie? But when I zoom in, everything zooms in. It's a bit scary for me. I don't know how to get out of it. Okay. You know what? Not you. Go away. Can I scroll? Can I? There we go. But it's not working. Okay. I can't show you a close-up. But what I want to tell you, if you can zoom in on Susie, every single face that she makes in all of these photos is the face of a woman who can't remember if this interview was on or off the record. Every single face. I said off the record, right? I said off the record. Okay, I shall read for you. On the morning of November 4, 2025, an off-year election day, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles was meeting in the Oval Office with the president and his top advisors, men she calls her core team. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Stephen Miller, Deputy Chief of Staff. The agenda was twofold: ending the congressional filibuster and forcing Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro from power. As she related it later, President Donald Trump was holding forth on the filibuster when Wiles stood up and started for the door. Trump eyed her. "Is this an emergency? That you have to leave?" he demanded. It was nothing of the sort, but Wiles left Trump guessing. She replied, "It's an emergency. It doesn't involve you." With that, according to Wiles, she departed the Oval. And that's how you leave a room. Oh, this? It doesn't involve you. Okay. It's Wiles, right? It's not Willie's. I feel like it's Wiles. Willie's. Okay. Sorry, let me get my Karen a little bit hair back under control. Everything's going to be over for you guys when I get extensions. It's actually so hot. I'm so glad I don't have extensions. I'm schwitzing like a schwitz. Okay. Wiles, wearing dark pants and a plain black leather top. Leather? At your age? Cut it out. Wiles, wearing dark pants and a plain black leather top, met me in her office with a smile and a handshake. Oh my God! Sorry, I haven't read this yet. But do we understand? Okay, this means that Susie was in the Oval Office with these goblins discussing getting rid of Maduro, and then she left to do this interview. And she's leaving to rat out the fucking government. And she's like, "Oh, where am I going? Nothing to do with you." I actually love this for her. Still bad. Still a very bad woman. Just a very funny moment. Okay. Over sandwiches from the White House mess. Disgusting, I'm sure. We talked about the challenges Trump faces. Throughout the past year, Wiles and I have spoken regularly about almost everything. There is a rat. The call is coming from inside the house. The contents and consequences of the Epstein files, ISIS brutal mass deportations, Elon Musk's evisceration of US aid, the controversial deployment of the National Guard to US cities, the demolition of the East Wing, the lethal strikes on boats allegedly being piloted by drug smugglers, acts many have called war crimes, Trump's physical and mental health, and whether he will defy the 22nd Amendment and try to stay on for a third term. Bye, Hannah. Mwah. Miss you. Most senior White House officials pass their words and speak only on background. But over many on-the-record conversations, Wiles answered almost every question I put to her. Now, guys, just wait. I want to find this photo for you. Because it's so worth it. It's so worth me finding this. Because we just have to keep remembering this. Okay, it's right there. Okay. Wait, you're gonna love this. Okay. Most senior White House officials pass their words and speak only on background, but over many on-the-record conversations, Wiles answered almost every question I put to her. A woman who can't remember if she's on or off the record. This is the face of a woman who cannot remember if this is on or off the record. I've never seen a more on the off the record face in my life. Hilarious. We often spoke on Sundays after church. All right, guys. Wiles, an Episcopalian, that's American for Protestant, I believe. Or Anglican, I believe that's American for Anglican. Calls herself a Catholic light. Okay, no. You're either a Protestant or you're a Catholic. I won't I'm so done with American Catholics. You guys don't get it. I know you got an American Pope now. So you think you're the bee's knees? You think that you own Catholicism now? Well, half of you hate the Pope. Very un-Catholic, by the way. You're actually not allowed to fucking hate the Pope and be a Catholic. You can't be a Protestant and a Catholic. Either God is watching you all the time and you have a personal connection to him, or he's not. And you got to go to church and you got to talk to a priest. You can't have it both ways. Anyway, that's my personal opinion as a Catholic light. One time we spoke while she was doing her laundry in Washington, D.C., in her Washington, D.C. rental. She doesn't send her laundry out. Wow, a woman who likes to work. Trump, she told me, has an alcoholic's personality. Okay, guys. Alcoholic's personality has got to be the most savage insult that I can think of for a man who is famously sober. To say that someone has an alcoholic personality when they're sober is to say, you know, the absolute worst person you know, the worst personality you've ever met, just the most terrible person you've ever known. But you have to create grace for them because their personality is a result of an addiction they don't totally have control over. So you can't actually blame them for how bad their personality is. She's literally saying that horrible personality has no cause. He's just like that. He just is the worst person alive. You know, the worst personality ever, but normally we can blame it on alcohol? He's like that, just without the alcohol. Hilarious. I was reading Fran Leibowitz's collection of essays recently, and she referred to this agent calling her as audibly tanned. And I was like, yeah, we need to be adding more insults like that. So audibly tanned, spiritually chinless, alcoholic personality. These are all insults I love. Oh, no. He's not an alcoholic. He just has an alcoholic's personality. Okay. Vance's conversion from never Trumper to MAGA acolyte, she said, has been sort of political. What the fuck does that mean? Literally, his political change is only sort of political. The vice president, she added, has been a conspiracy theorist for a decade. Russell Vought, architect of the notorious Project 2025 and head of the Office of Management and Budget, is a right-wing absolute zealot. When I asked her what she thought of Musk reposting a tweet about public sector workers killing millions under Hitler, Stalin, and Mao, she replied, I think that's when he was microdosing. She says she doesn't have first-hand knowledge. I'm sorry, I fucking love this bitch. Also, I support... No, forget it. But, this is like... This man hired a drunk wine mum as his chief of staff. This is her just gossiping with the girls after church at drunken brunch. This is crazy. She 100%. Either she is literally and has been jumping ship since the beginning of the administration, or she didn't know she was on the record. I personally think she's jumping ship. I think she's fucking your mum. But I can't be positive. Oh, I'm so hot. I love it so much. Wiles is the most powerful person in Trump's White House other than the president himself. Unlike any chief of staff before her, she is a woman. Thank you, GB. The architect of President Donald Trump's 2024 election victory, now his White House chief of staff, is the daughter of famous sportscaster Pat Summerall. She should also do some sports coverage. As Wiles explains, her father was an alcoholic. Oh, so she knows how to identify one. Me too, babe. Me too. So she knows how to deal with difficult men with big personalities. It truly, we need the daughter of an alcoholic in the White House. This is why I think, like, all of this makes her look amazing, and that's why I think that she's jumping ship and that she's fucking your mum, right? Like, that's the only explanation for this. I don't think she's dumb enough, even though I love the joke of the fact that she looks like she's forgotten that she can't remember if she's on the record or not. I truly believe this is on purpose. I make a specialty of it, she says with a laugh. As the crises of Trump 2.0 pile up, from Signalgate to revenge and retribution to the Epstein files to alleged war crimes on the high seas, Wiles has worked at the center of the storm, the Trump whisperer who can see it all. I'm entering my 9th year altogether, my 5th year day to day, she says, of working with Trump. So it's hard to surprise me. No, this isn't the WWE wife. That is McMahon, Linda McMahon, the Secretary of Education, who wants to get rid of the Department of Education. So many decisions of great consequence are being made on the whim of the president, and as far as I can tell, the only force that can direct or channel that whim is Susie, a former Republican chief told me. In most White Houses, the chief of staff is the first among a bunch of equals. She may be first with no equals. Can you imagine that? This woman, who was first among no equals, the most powerful person in the White House, is leaving to shit on the president. And as she's leaving, she says, "It is an emergency. It's got nothing to do with you." She 100% knew what she was doing. This is a serious plan. I don't think there's anybody in the world right now that could do the job that she's doing, Rubio. Oh my God. Guys. Everyone else thinks they're doing a puff piece. So she's here dishing dirt, being like, oh, everyone's an alcoholic and an idiot and completely lost their mind. They're conspiracy theorists. They're absolutely insane. The whole thing is just a mess. And everyone else being interviewed is like, I do have to say that Susie is really an inspiration and a testament to what can be done in the role. No one has ever been as good as Susie, and no one ever will be as good as Susie. Genius. Literally, everyone thinks they've come in to do a puff piece, saying nice things about Susie, and she's like, oh, that bitch? Let me tell you about that bitch. Oh, so good. He called her bond with Trump an earned trust. Vance described Wiles' approach to the chief's job. There is this idea that people have that I think was very common in the first administration, he told me, that their objective was to control the president or influence the president or even manipulate the president because they had to in order to serve the national interest. Susie just takes the diametrically opposite viewpoint, which is that she's a facilitator, that the American people have elected Donald Trump, and her job is to actually facilitate his vision and to make his vision come to life. Simultaneously, a compliment to her from JD Vance's point of eyes, but also complete absolution. Oh, she's just doing what she's told. Everything you see, she's just stepped out of the way. She just lets Trump do what he wants to do. It's crazy. It's been a busy year. Trump and his team have expanded the limits of presidential power, unilaterally declared a war on drug cartels, imposed tariffs according to whim, sealed the southern border, achieved a ceasefire and hostage release in Gaza, pressured NATO allies into increasing their defense spending. Here's the heir apparent, who looks like Shrek in this photo. Also, look at the crusty, he needs a lip balm stat. But I'm going to say something controversial. Maybe it's because he's not wearing makeup. His skin texture is actually better than Carolyn Levitt's. This man is using a retinol. This man's skin's looking soft. And I know we constantly hear that he wears eyeliner, but not to say that I look like every member of this administration. I think what he's got going on is deep set eyes. And I too have them. And when you pair them with dark kind of lashes and piercing blue eyes, who did I? Okay, so you know how Erica Kirk recently looks like an anime villain all of the time? She's got those Miley Cyrus eyes going on. That's the problem when you have blue eyes and you try and put eyeliner around them the whole way. You suddenly look like you're an anime villain. Your eyes become like too much. I am the Trump admin. It's me. I can cosplay all of them. I like this. He looks like a quarterback. He kind of looks like he could be one of the Kelsey brothers to me. This is who are the you know how there are the two hot Hemsworth brothers and then there's the one kind of ugly Hemsworth brother? To me, he's like there are the two Kelsey brothers and then there's JD Vance. Yeah. Christopher Anderson though, let's give it up for this photographer. I can claim all white people. I can look like all white people. And you can't tell me that I don't. Okay? I can look like all of them. Okay. Once a fierce critic of Trump, who could be America's Hitler, Vance said in 2016, the vice president is now his highest ranking acolyte, a 180-degree transformation that Wiles calls sort of political. In the wake of his friend Charlie Kirk's assassination, Vance spoke of the festering violence on the far left, helping fuel Trump's campaign of revenge and retribution against political enemies. A conspiracy theory for a decade, a conspiracy theorist for, he's a conspiracy theory too. A conspiracy theorist for a decade. According to Wiles, Vance keeps a close eye on the views of his younger voters. And that is why, guys, I'm not kidding, we have to keep our eyes on clavicular. JD Vance is going to be looks-maxing before you know it. Next photo of JD Vance, he's going to be thumb pulling. I would hate to be the least hot Hemsworth brother. But can I tell you, no, do you know what? I don't want to complain anymore this stream. I've had enough. Also, you know what I learnt? According to TikTok? The universe can only reply yes. So if you're like, I'm so ugly, the universe is like, yes, and makes you ugly. So we can only say nice things out loud, okay? So what I just said was a hypothetical. I'm incredible. Universe. Okay. What did Jason Kelsey do to deserve someone saying he looks like he could be related? I didn't say he looks like he could be related to JD Vance. I said JD Vance looks like he could be related to a Kelsey. Okay. Yes, Formica. Okay. Guys, I'm going to become a looks maxer and then you can just follow me. Should I? No. I have too many ideas. I need to focus on one idea. I need to just do one thing. Okay. You guys, I don't even want to explain it. Can we have a looks maxing Q&A section? Let me learn a bit more because I'm just learning about the infraorbitals right now. Okay. I don't have the full anatomy. You know, the other day when I was doing the looks maxing, and I was like, oh, I have had a migraine for 3 days. I told you it would happen. It did happen. I cannot afford to loosen up my neck muscles to allow for drainage and to fix my posture because every time I do it, it's just... Okay, guys, focus. At the same time, Trump has waged war on his political enemies, pardoned the Jan 6 rioters, firing nearly everyone involved in their investigation and prosecution, sued media companies into multi-million-dollar settlements, indicted multiple government officials he perceives as his foes, and pressured universities to toe his line. He's redefined the way presidents behave, verbally abusing women, minorities, and almost anyone who offends him. Charlie Kirk's assassination in September turbocharged Trump's campaign of revenge and retribution. Critics have compared this moment to the Reichstag fire, a modern version of Hitler's exploitation of the torching of Berlin's parliament. Don't ask Rock about looks maxing. It'll ruin your brain. Whenever I see someone doing an exercise that looks silly at the gym, I'm like, well, at least they're not hitting themselves with a hammer. You don't know what they're doing in their spare time, Formica. I mean, seriously, though, she were a kid until this video. She seems like... I mean, seriously, though, she were a kid until this video, so seems like a legit source. I don't know what this means. Mean? I'm old, and I've always typed like a bot, not intentional. Good point. At the same... I already read that. Historically, the White House Chief of Staff is the president's gatekeeper, confidant, and executor of his agenda. That often means telling the president hard truths. Upon taking office, Ronald Reagan was hell-bent on reforming Social Security. James A. Baker III explained to him that cutting Social Security benefits was the third rail of American politics. Reagan pivoted to tax cuts and was ultimately re-elected in a landslide. Donald Rumsfeld, Gerald Ford's chief, explained the White House Chief of Staff is the one person besides his wife who can look him right in the eye and say, this is not right, you simply cannot go down that road. And I have something to say about that later. But I do also believe this is true in terms of, and I may have talked about this on stream before. I love to just revert back to gender essentialism because even though I know politically it's not true, in my soul I love it. And that is, oh yeah, thank you, I am older than Levitt. Okay, men behave in the 3D. They're in the physical world. They're doing things, okay? Women are in the 5D. Intuition, foresight, psychic, magic, all of... And, okay, you know the scene in 300, okay? Where he's with the messenger, and the messenger's in front of the pit, and he's gonna kick the messenger into the pit, and it's gonna start a war. What does he do before he kicks the messenger into the pit? Well, I obviously don't agree with the transphobia. That's why I said politically I don't agree with it, but there's part of my soul that just finds it very fun. I obviously don't trans women or women. I don't agree with TERFs. I don't agree with any of that stuff. That's why I put the caveat in. But for the fun of it, in 300, what does he do before he kicks the messenger into the hole? He looks at his wife, and his wife goes, because he knows he needs her approval, because she's operating up here. She's fucking your mum. Okay? No, he looks at his wife. Okay. Give us another photo. We want another photo. Okay. I don't really want to read all of this. I get tired. But I have to keep going because I'm not at 2 hours yet. Actually, this is a good time for my personal tariffs. I just want to say something based on what I just said. And it kind of goes against what I just said. And I don't like that I have to say it. And for a lot of you, you're going to be like, what the hell is she talking about? Okay. Any discussion of Sydney Sweeney's on there forever. But I do need to address something. Okay? Sometimes in this life, right, I haven't reacted yet. Maybe I'll have to do that today or tomorrow. I'll see. Sometimes in this life, you date someone, okay? And people like to decide that when they don't understand the point of view of that person that you are dating or have dated, they like to attribute it to the woman in the relationship because they can't understand how this person that they like and agree with has an opinion that they don't like and agree with. Okay? Happens a lot in politics. It happens a lot in public life. So I just want to put some of my views publicly on the record so that it's very clear what my views about things are. And I know to a lot of you, you'll be like, what the fuck is she talking about? Just ride with me for a minute because we're putting a personal tariff on it from now on, which means if I have to bring this stuff up ever again, if I have to talk about streamer stuff ever again, you all owe me 5 subs because I don't like talking about this. I like talking about politics and sport and gossip to do with politicians, okay? Thank you. That's a reaction I want from the stream, His Royal Slyness. So let's just start with a few clarifying things. I am not, never have been, never will be a communist. Sorry, guys, not a communist, not ideologically of that persuasion, never have been, don't support it. I'm a pluralist. I believe different states require a mixture of different things to work for that state. Okay? I do not endorse communism. I've never tried to get anyone into communism. I do not have an ideological position. I have a political position, and that is that I vote Labour left in Australia. That's my only position. I don't vote in America. I support the Democrats, but I do not vote there. I do not have an ideological position. That is one. Two, okay? Just because I pursued a PhD in philosophy doesn't mean that I've ever encouraged anyone to do philosophy, to do any sort of philosophy in public life. In fact, anyone who's watched my stream for a long time knows that I actively discourage people from doing that because it creates Frankenstein's monsters. One thing that I have dissuaded people from doing more than anything else is any kind of propositional logic in a conversation. The only thing I've ever encouraged people to look at is rhetoric. I am not creating people or brain breaking them or doing anything because people don't listen to me, okay? 3, I have a life that I really, really like with friends where I do things like swim in pools and go to movies and go out for dinner and drinks. And my life is filled with very interesting things. I do very interesting things. I'm a playwright and an actor and I go hiking and I have dogs. I have a life that is so full. I cannot tell you how little I care, have cared ever, will care ever about Ethan Klein. I literally never think about that man. I never talk about him. He's never come out of my mouth. I seriously could not give less of a fuck ever about that. The only time I've ever engaged with Ethan Klein content is when he did Frenemies. Okay? And I left with my mother, Trisha. Okay? I left with my mum in the divorce. Okay? I don't cover that shit. I don't want to cover that shit. I don't want to talk about that shit. It's boring to me. I want to watch a fucking movie. Okay? That shit has nothing to do with me. I don't care about Casey Tron. I don't care about Ethan Klein. None of that has anything to do with me. So please, when you are deciding if someone else who I have been attached to in the past is having an opinion because of me, stop deciding that because it's not the case. It has nothing to do with me. Literally, I'm here talking about NATO and Venezuela and this Vanity Fair article. I don't give a fuck about Ethan. If you want to hear me gossiping about streamer, the only streamer you're going to hear me gossip about is Candace Owens. Okay, that's it. So please leave me alone. I'm putting a personal tariff on ever having to talk about this sort of shit again. Okay? Because it's boring. I don't want to talk about it. Don't make me talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Leave my name out of it. Okay, so that's the personal tariff. So in the same way in the article, it mentioned how people's spouses or ex-spouses or whatever brought in to be their confidant. I'm telling you, in this case, this truly has nothing to do with me. Truly. Please, leave me out of it. Okay, back to the Vanity Fair article. Okay, so just how far will Trump veer off the guardrails of democracy? The question around Wiles' tenure under Trump has been whether she will do anything to restrain him. A better question, does she want to? T-minus 9 days, January 11, 2025. Our first conversation took place little more than a week before the inauguration. Wiles called from the road, en route from Mar-a-Lago to her home in Ponte Vedra, Florida. Thank you, Bed-Stuy Bed Guy, for the sub, and look at my beautiful stars. in her BMW 530, a 5 Series. To me, that's a doctor's car. I wouldn't expect that for a chief of staff. I actually wouldn't expect a chief of staff to have her own car. I'd expect her to be driven. She was in high spirits, basking in Trump's victory. Not that she'd ever doubted the outcome. At no point did I think we would not win, she said. Not in my core, not in my sleep, not in my rational mind. See, this woman's a thinker. That's why I think that she thought all this through. But on that January day, as his second inauguration approached, Wiles was determined to show the world a new Trump. I told Hakeem Jeffries, "You will see a different Donald Trump when he gets there," she recounted to me. I've not seen him throw anything. I've not seen him scream. I didn't see that really horrible behavior that people talk about and that I actually experienced years ago. Oh, interesting. There's that alcoholic personality for you. Wiles' childhood had prepared her for difficult men. She was raised in Stamford, Connecticut, and Saddle River, New Jersey, the only daughter and eldest of 3 siblings. No, we're not the same. I just tried to do the maths. It was her famous father, Pat Summerall, who put Wiles on the path to the pinnacle of political power. Summerall had been a kicker for the New York Giants and afterwards parlayed his knowledge and mellifluous baritone. We've got to get some, look at these words, mellifluous. Mellifluous baritone into fame and fortune as the voice of NFL. Guys, could that be me? After my sports coverage on the NFL today, could that be me? I think it could. I think maybe it could. At her father's knee, Susie Summerall became a football aficionado, rattling off win-loss records and player stats like a miniature John Madden. An ability she says Trump shares. Oh, Trump's a big football guy. The president, it turns out, is a junkie of that and is like a statistical savant. She said, and guys, has anyone seen an interview of Trump where he talks about numbers? That man is not a statistical savant. How many people have been killed from drugs in America at this stage? How many lives have been saved? Have we looked at the financial record? That man is not a statistical savant. As a child, Susie also absorbed the zeitgeist of her father's 1970s Manhattan. Much of what Donald Trump remembers about the New York of the 70s, I lived through with my dad, she said. So when he talks about Frank Sinatra's bodyguard, I know that name. Steve Witkoff, Trump's real estate friend turned special envoy, says Wiles and Trump are creatures of the same bygone era. We call that the Hey Arnold era of New York. The mellifluous baritone. The whole world of the Coca Cabana and Sammy Davis Jr. and all. So those are things he wants to talk about. Okay, then go do that and don't be the president. Just a suggestion I have. I like this photo. I like the squint. I like how he's trying to give us something, but he's not giving it at all. And the off-kilter, this Christopher Anderson, he made this story. It's all great, but he really made this story. Trump's deputy chief of staff for policy and Homeland Security advisor is the tip of the spear for the president's weaponized roundup of immigrants and the take-no-prisoners approach to alleged drug smugglers. Utterly loyal and a fierce protector of the president's secrets, Miller is a battle-tested soldier in the Trump's war against the deep state. Says Miller, "We came into the second term fully, completely ready and prepared to contend with that bureaucracy and ultimately to impose democratic will onto that bureaucracy." He reminds me of an anthropomorphic pencil eraser. Resting racist face? Yeah, I think that's a good, guys, my allergies are so bad. The most valuable gift Susie got from her dad was hard-earned. Summerall was an absentee father, an alcoholic, and Wiles helped her mother stage interventions to get him into treatment. Summerall was sober for 21 years before his death in 2013. That's pretty good, actually. Good job. Some people just die. Alcoholism does bad things to relationships, and so it was with my dad and me, Wiles said. Some clinical psychologist that knows 1,000,000 times more than I do will dispute what I'm going to say, but high-functioning alcoholics, or alcoholics in general, their personalities are exaggerated when they drink, and so I'm a little bit of an expert in big personalities. Wiles said Trump has an alcoholic's personality. He operates with the view that there's nothing he can't do. Nothing. Zero. Nothing. Watch my video on MAGA Magic. Watch my video. You should watch my video on his opinion there. But as I said, alcoholic personality as an insult against a sober person is the funniest thing I've read in a while. Susie Summerall got her first taste of politics in the late 1970s, interning as a college student. Can you intern as a college student? Oh, interning as a college student in the Capitol Hill office of Jack Kemp, the New York congressman who'd been a giant with her father. Oh, a giant? That would be, guys, the New York Giants. That would be a football player. Then at 23, she landed a job in the Reagan White House as a scheduler, where that's actually a really tough job in politics. Politicians' calendars get booked up really fast. It's actually a very tough job. Where she watched his chief of staff, Baker, in action. She married a GOP advance man, Lanny Wiles, and in 1984 they moved to Ponte Vedra. Wiles wanted to start a family and a life outside of politics, but in 1988, Baker lured Wiles back to work with Dan Quayle, George H.W. Bush's running mate. The couple had 2 daughters, Katie and Caroline. Wiles plunged into state politics and over the next 2 decades became a formidable political strategist, serving as chief of staff to the mayor of Jacksonville, Florida, running Rick Scott's gubernatorial campaign, and briefly leading John Huntsman's campaign for president. In 2015, Wiles was invited to Trump Tower to meet the real estate tycoon turned presidential candidate. The star of The Apprentice couldn't believe he was talking to the daughter of the great Pat Summerall. He said it 1,000,000 times, Wiles said. I judge people by their genes. Very normal. Very, very normal thing to say. Presidential. To judge people by their genes. Wiles thought Trump was interesting and smart. And they called me one night and said, we're serious about Florida now. Would you like to co-chair our leadership team? And I said, yeah, I would. I'd become disenchanted with what we now call traditional Republicans. She recalled, Wiles' relationship with Trump almost ended at his Miami Golf Club one night in the fall of 2016. Unhappy with a poll showing him doing worse than expected in Florida, Trump berated her in front of a gaggle of cronies. It was a horrific hour plus at midnight, Wiles told me. And I don't think... Wait, guys, I need to fake a cigarette with all of this because I think it's great. It was a horrific hour plus at midnight, Wiles told me. And I don't think I've seen him that angry since. He was ranting and raving. I didn't know whether to argue back or whether to be stoic. What I really wanted to do was cry. Dan Scavino, the caddy. The Deputy Chief of Staff and Director of Presidential Personnel is a social media obsessive and veteran of Trump's first term. He is also a former golf club manager and, as a teenage, toted the president's club as a teenager. Oh, so he's literal lackey. I like the side shot here where we get both the double chin and the Hitler haircut. I think it's really special. When we came into office in Trump 1.0, he says, the Russia hoax kicked in right away and it was nothing but investigation after investigation after investigation. This go around, we came in, we won. There's no investigations. We control the House, the Senate, and the White House, and the president can focus on his policies. Scavino says Trump is relentless. My toughest challenge is honestly keeping up with the president because he's literally non-stop. He's always go, go, go. That's how I assume this man laughs. Wiles stilled herself. Wiles stilled herself. I finally said, you know, Mr. Trump, if you want somebody to set their hair on fire and be crazy, I'm not your girl. But if you want to win this state, I am. It's your choice. Wiles walked out. Trump turned on a dime. Lo and behold, he called me every day. Wiles never looked back. Trump carried Florida and the first prize in his stunning 2016 upset over Hillary Clinton. Then, in a fateful turn of events, Wiles went to work in 2018 for an ambitious gubernatorial candidate named Ron DeSantis. Trump urged DeSantis, then his protege, to hire her. She led the underdog candidate to victory, but afterwards, DeSantis turned on her, denouncing Wiles publicly and bad-mouthing her privately. To this day, Wiles doesn't know what triggered the governor's vendetta. I think he thought I was getting too much attention, which is ironic. I don't ever seek attention. Wiles landed on her feet, organizing Florida for Trump's 2020 re-election bid. Trump had rescued Wiles, recently divorced. She divorced, but she kept the last name. Huge. At a dark moment in her life, Wiles and her husband divorced in 2017, due, she has said, to his bad financial decisions. Looking back on DeSantis' behavior, Wiles reflected, had he said, look, thank you, I appreciate your help, we're done here, I believe the course of his history would have been different. I might or might not have gone to work for Donald Trump. Okay, so she's literally saying, I could have made Ron DeSantis president. Hilarious. How long is this going on for? We're gonna come back to this because I'm tired and I hit my amount that I do. I'm sorry, guys, but we're just working on getting where we need to get at the moment. But we will come back to this article. Maybe even tonight. Maybe I'll come back in the morning for you guys. Yeah. Okay. Bye, guys. Rock on. We'll come back to the article. Bye.